the Bliss Business Podcast, the show about empathy, connection, and consciousness in business. Today's episode is brought to you by Zero Company, your paid search, social media, and programmatic ad experts.
Hello, and welcome back to the show. In this short Empathy Expansion Kit episode, we are discussing the compassionate brand voice and creating empathetic messaging. I'm Stephen Skash here with Tulio Siragusa. Hey, Tulio.
Hey, welcome back, everybody.
So a compassionate brand voice is one that's based on empathy and understanding and genuine care for your audience needs and emotions. It goes beyond, mere marketing tactics, and it creates this deep emotional connection with the audience. This is important, of course, for like healthcare, but a lot of industries really kind of swing and miss on this. But there are opportunities in most industries. There could be travel, could be legal services, beauty, personal care, real estate, fitness. Most industries, there's an angle here to do this. And what you want is to bring forth is this authenticity, this warmth, inclusivity, respect. These are the characters that help in building trust and loyalty among your customers. Tulio, why is that important?
Yeah, there's actually 5 key things that being committed to this will work in your advantage. One, we'll talk about each one of these in a little bit, but one, it's about building trust. 2, it helps build emotional connection. 3, you gain a competitive advantage. 4, it's about building customer loyalty. And finally, there's a real world impact from this. So in building trust, empathetic messaging helps building trust with customers, because when customers feel understood and valued and validated, they're more likely to trust a brand. That's just a basic relationship thing, right? And then from an emotional connection point of view, when you create more of an emotional bond with the audience, it leads to a stronger relationship. Those emotional connections are like key drivers towards customer loyalty. And we talked about some of that in one of our past expansion kit, like the importance of not just fulfilling a transactional need, but also fulfilling a desire, right? Because when you do that right, then that person becomes an evangelist. So there's an emotional connection that's built that way. And then you get a competitive advantage. It's a very crowded marketplace, right? So I always say empathy will always win. So if I have to compare between A, B, C, D, E, and they're all kind of sounding the same, within the same price range, and they all would fulfill my transactional need for something, I'm likely to go with someone who understands me, or I feel like they understand me. So that's where the compassion and the empathy comes in. So you get a competitive advantage by having a brand voice of compassion from your competitor, because it differentiates you. It makes you more relatable and memorable. People are not going to remember the article of clothing. They're going to remember how they feel. That's what they're going to remember. And then loyalty, it's, customers are more likely to stay loyal to a brand that resonates with them, or at least shares their values. And empathy and messaging can significantly boost customer retention. So at the end of the day, we like to do business with people that are similar to us. So there's definitely some relatable value in that. So that builds loyalty. And then from a real world impact, you think brands like Dove and Warby Parker, they've very successfully built compassion messaging into their campaigns and have been able to create very strong, loyal customer bases. So, like Dove, for example, it's soap. You're like, what's so special about soap? But their campaign is like, sensitive skin. It's
very relatable for women and their bodies on their campaigns, and I think that's really.
This woman, I use Dove soap for the same exact reason. It just feels like the right soap for me. So it's like that kind of thing. So
yeah, and I think so. And that's one of the key things, though, is that relatability you mentioned too. So using language and stories that your audience can relate to, I think, if you can share these experiences that mirror those of your customers comparing, I think of the travel industry. So, if I'm Airbnb or some vacation rental, these are two different experiences compared to a hotel, right? So a hotel, I can just see the imagery here of this cold hallway, right? And you can compare and contrast that to now a family sitting in just this living room at this Airbnb and connecting, and you have this joy of the family connection there. So something that's, something that we can all relate to, those of us who have families, just having this richer experience. And being relatable, I think, is really one of those keys. So then you got to tie it in, with some compassionate call to action too. A lot of times in these advertisings, come create lasting memories with your loved ones in this place. Book a stay, and rediscover that family connection. Something like that, with this call to action. So it all comes together there with that. And then, make sure your tone and your language is warm and friendly, inclusive. And if you've got a higher purpose defined, call back to that higher purpose. I know that's difficult for some people, is keeping that higher purpose front and center. And really, that's one of the main things that I love about our AI Chief Marketing Officer that we've developed at. Go to aicmo.io. But this aligns your company purpose with messaging and campaign ideas, that we've actually got elements of all this built into that, so that the AI will build love into your campaign creation. You've used this tool, Leo, and seen this tool, and it's something we've worked on for quite a long time. And it helps this creative process. I think a lot of people have difficulty taking that next step.
Let me put it this way. For years, being a design thinking practitioner and even an advisor to the design thinking program at the University of California, right? I gone and delved pretty deeply into how to apply empathy into everything: organizational alignment, marketing, go-to-market strategy, you name it, right? So when I tried AI CMO, and in like seconds, it could create something that would have taken perhaps sometimes days or longer, because there's a whole process. You got to go through the curiosity, the learning, the digging in deeper, the testing, the validating, the prototyping, all these things to get to a real message that resonates. And this does it pretty quickly. And then I was just blown away by how effective it is in infusing the experience that you want the buyer to have, that they want to have. So it's completely different game when you are crafting empathetic messaging and you want to be a compassionate brand. I mean, there's some brands that it's all about they're selling something that's that fulfills not just a need, but sometimes creates care that is necessary, especially if you're in the healthcare business or something or travel. Maybe someone just needs a break because they're burnt out, right? So
there's any industry. I feel like you can really, and we've tested this on anything we can imagine, is it'll bring this sort of compassionate, empathetic messaging to it. It's something that's just maybe not natural for a lot of people to try and figure out, well, how do I do that? I like the idea of this. How do I do it? And then, within like a few minutes of just typing in some stuff here, and, we're bringing in your company purpose, helping you develop your company purpose. We've got a tool in there. And then it's like, okay, now build out this campaign.
I'll never forget, we tested this fake company about, selling basically used stuff, right? I mean, it's a used stuff store, but the way it messaged it, it was like, there was a story behind, how to reuse or repurpose something that has a history to it. It sounded like so noble and eloquent that it made.
I wanted to start that company. I'm like,
right. That's really cool. I want to buy stuff that has a story behind it. And to most people, it's just used stuff, right? It's someone else's junk. But the way it's presented, it made you feel like nostalgic and felt good. It had a story behind it. Like you gave life to something that would have otherwise been trash. It made you feel good. It triggered all the heart levers, and it made you want to buy it. Like I would want to buy that stuff from that store. So that was like something we just created just to have fun with it. But it's just an example of if you've got the right messaging and you're compassionate and you have empathetic, you can actually create value for something that would otherwise be considered quote unquote junk. It's that good. You know?
So as a reminder, Tuesdays we do our deeper dive podcast series. Wednesdays we're running these short segments like this Empathy Expansion Kit episode. Tomorrow we run our interviews with guests. So check that out tomorrow. And we will see you on the next Bliss Business Podcast.